The Parker pen slid across the contract with the precision of a blade. My father didn't even look at me as he signed away my destiny with that blue ink that looked like diluted blood. 13 years. 13 years since my voice died in my throat along with my mother at that cursed intersection. 13 years in which I learned that silence can be a fortress, until your own father turns it into a prison. "It's done," declared Vincent Ashford, my father, pushing the paper across the mahogany desk like discarding a used napkin. "You marry Mateo Mancini in 2 weeks. Your sister is pregnant. I can't undo the agreement with the Mancini family. You understand the position this puts us in? Understand. As if I had a choice. As if my lack of voice meant lack of opinion. I signed quickly, my hands moving with the fluid precision I'd mastered since I was 6. And if I refuse? My father laughed. A dry sound, without humor. "You won't refuse, Rose. The Mancinis control the entire East Coast. If we break this agreement, it'll be war. And territory wars have casualties. Many." He leaned forward, and for the first time that afternoon his eyes met mine. "Would you prefer Lily to pay the price? She's carrying a child." The manipulation was so obvious it almost hurt. Almost. But he knew exactly where to press. Lily was the only person who still treated me as human, not as a broken porcelain doll that needed to be handled with care. I signed faster. "Who is he?" "Mateo Mancini, 38 years old, direct heir to the Mancini empire after his older brother's death 2 years ago." My father consulted a dossier like reading a dinner menu, known for being efficient, never married before, no known children, lives in New York but has operations in 6 states. Efficient. What a gentle word for a man who probably had more blood on his hands than a butcher. Does he know about me? Knows you don't speak. Said it made no difference. A half smile twisted my father's lips. Maybe he even prefers it. Women who talk too much have always been problematic in this business. Rage climbed up my spine like mercury in a broken thermometer. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip that table. I wanted to make my father feel a fraction of the powerlessness he was imposing on me. Instead, I closed the notebook with a sharp snap and stood up. "Wear something appropriate for tomorrow's dinner," he ordered, returning to his papers. "The Mancini family is coming to meet you. First impression matters, even for a substitute bride." Substitute, as if I were an appliance with an extended warranty. I climbed the stairs of the Ashford mansion with measured steps, each one a countdown to a life I didn't choose. Lily waited for me in the second-floor hallway, her hands protective over her still discreet belly. "Rose." Her eyes were red. "I'm so sorry. I tried to convince Dad. I swore I would." I raised my hand, cutting off the apologies. It wasn't her fault for falling in love with a regular lawyer. It wasn't her fault for being pregnant. It wasn't her fault our father was a tyrant who saw his daughters as chess pieces. My hands moved in quick, familiar patterns. Lily had learned ASL when I was 7, refusing to let my silence create distance between us. "Are you okay?" I signed. "I should be asking you that." Lily grabbed my hands, squeezing as if she could anchor me in place. "Rose, this man, the Mancinis aren't like our family. They're old school, pure Italian blood. Mateo has a reputation for being ruthless. Different from Dad?" I signed with irony. She didn't smile. "They say he killed 3 men from the Corleone family with his own hands when he found out they were stealing from the business. Didn't order the kill. Killed them. Personally." My stomach turned, but I kept my face neutral. I learned early that showing fear was giving power. "I'll survive," I signed. Because that's what I did. Survived. The next morning I found a dress hanging on my closet door. Blood red, moderate neckline, elegant and expensive. A silent declaration. "You are now Mancini property." I wore it because choosing my battles was the only form of control I had left. Dinner would be at 8. At 7:30 I went down to the living room where my father received the most important guests. Male voices echoed Italian, interspersed with heavily accented English. I took a deep breath. The door opened. And that's when I saw him. Mateo Mancini was 6'3" of pure presence. Broad shoulders under a Tom Ford black suit worth a fortune. Dark hair slicked back with gel. Square jaw covered by a meticulously trimmed beard. But it was the eyes that paralyzed. Amber dark color, cold as glass, evaluating everything with a predator's precision. Tattoos snaked up his neck, disappearing under the collar of his impeccable white shirt. Symbols I didn't recognize, but that screamed danger in every language. He saw me and stopped mid-sentence. The silence stretched. Awkward. Suffocating. Then Mateo crossed the room in 4 long strides, stopping half a meter away. Too close. Too intimate. Intentional. "Rose Ashford," he said, voice deep as distant thunder. "My future wife." It wasn't a question. It was a claim. I extended my hand to shake his. Professional gesture, distant. He took it, but instead of shaking, he turned my palm up and pressed his lips against my wrist. Slow, deliberate, eyes fixed on mine. My heart exploded into a race. When he pulled away, there was a minimal smile at the corner of his mouth. Satisfaction, as if he could hear every accelerated beat of my pulse. "Your father told me you don't speak," Mateo continued, hands now in his pants pockets, casual as someone commenting on the weather. "Is that a problem for you or for whoever talks to you?" The question caught me off guard. It wasn't pity. It wasn't morbid curiosity. It was pragmatism. I pulled out my notebook and wrote, "Depends on how stupid the person is." He read it. Eyebrows rose. And then, impossible, unexpected, Mateo Mancini laughed. It wasn't a polite business dinner laugh. It was genuine, husky, coming from the chest. "I like her," he announced to the room, to my shocked father, to the 2 men accompanying him. Brothers, I realized from the similar faces. "Let's have dinner. I want to get to know the woman who's going to carry my last name better." And so, surrounded by Italian mobsters and the weight of a contract I didn't sign, I began the journey to become the wife of a crime prince. Silent, observant, survivor, and maybe, just maybe, more dangerous than anyone at that table imagined. The dining room at Ashford Manor could seat 20 people comfortably. Tonight it felt like a coffin. Mateo sat across from me, flanked by his brothers. Marco on his right, a leaner version with calculating green eyes, and Dante on his left, younger, with a scar cutting through his left eyebrow that spoke of violence survived. My father occupied the head of the table, playing gracious host like he hadn't just sold his daughter 2 hours ago. Lily sat beside me, her presence a small comfort in a room full of predators. "The wine is from our vineyard in Napa," my father announced, pouring a 2015 Cabernet that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. "Vincent Ashford doesn't serve anything but the best, clearly," Mateo said, but his eyes never left me. "Though I'm more interested in discussing the terms of our arrangement, like we were discussing a business merger, which I supposed we were." "What terms?" I signed to Lily. She translated, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. "Rose wants to know what terms." Mateo's gaze shifted to Lily, then back to me. "You use sign language." It wasn't a question, but I nodded anyway. "Useful," he said. "Private conversations in public places." He leaned back in his chair, the picture of casual power. "The terms are simple. You move into my penthouse in Manhattan after the wedding. You'll have your own space, your own security detail. I don't expect you to play happy housewife, but you will attend family functions when required." I grabbed my notebook. The pen felt like a weapon. "And in return?" Lily read it aloud. "In return, your father's territory remains intact. The Ashford ports stay Ashford ports. No interference from my family." Mateo's fingers drummed once on the table. "And you get the Mancini name. Protection that comes with it. Resources. Freedom. Within reason." "What's your definition of within reason?" A smile ghosted across his face. "Don't embarrass the family. Don't fuck my enemies. Don't try to run." He paused. "Don't get yourself killed." I'd take that personally. The casual way he mentioned death should have terrified me. Instead, something like respect flickered in my chest. At least he was honest. Marco leaned forward. "What about children? The family expects—" "Marco." Mateo's voice dropped 10 degrees. "Eat your pasta." The younger brother shut up immediately. Mateo's attention returned to me. "We'll discuss that later. Privately. It's not a dinner conversation." "I have conditions," I wrote. "Of course you do." He looked almost amused. "Let's hear them." "I keep my own bank account. I continue my work. And I'm not a prisoner." Lily's voice wavered on the last word. "Your work?" Mateo tilted his head. "What work?" I'd been teaching ASL classes at the Brooklyn Community Center for 2 years. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. A piece of autonomy in a life controlled by my father's empire. "I teach sign language," I wrote, "to deaf children and their families." Something shifted in Mateo's expression. Surprise, maybe, or reassessment. "You'll need security," he said finally. 2 men minimum. Non-negotiable. The Mancini name makes you a target. I nodded. That was reasonable. As for your bank account and freedom, he lifted his wine glass. Keep your money. Go where you want. But understand this, Rose. He leaned forward and the temperature in the room dropped. If someone tries to hurt you to get to me, I will burn their world down, and you'll have to live with that knowledge. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. I've lived with worse, I wrote. Mateo read it. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Yes, I imagine you have. The rest of dinner passed in uncomfortable small talk. My father and Mateo discussed shipping routes and profit margins like they were discussing football scores. Marco asked Lily about her pregnancy with surprising gentleness. Dante said nothing, just watched everyone with the stillness of a coiled snake. I pushed food around my plate and tried not to think about the ring that would soon be on my finger. When dessert arrived, tiramisu that I couldn't taste, Mateo stood abruptly. Walk with me, he said. Not to the room. To me. I glanced at my father, who nodded permission like I'd asked for it. The garden behind Ashford Manor sprawled across 2 acres of manicured perfection. Mateo's security detail materialized from shadows, keeping distance but staying visible. He noticed my glance. You'll get used to it, he said. The constant surveillance. It's suffocating at first. I pulled out my notebook. At first, you adapt, or you break. He stopped beside the fountain, its water catching moonlight. You don't strike me as someone who breaks easily. You don't know me. No, but I'm observant. He turned to face me fully. You survived losing your mother and your voice at 6. You navigated a crime family childhood without the ability to scream for help. You're here dressed in red, meeting the man you're being forced to marry, and you haven't shed a single tear. Would crying change anything? No. His honesty was brutal. But most people would try anyway. I'm not most people. I'm starting to see that. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. My stomach dropped. He opened it. Inside sat a ring that could probably fund a small country. A blood-red ruby surrounded by diamonds, set in platinum. Beautiful. Expensive. Utterly wrong for me. Family heirloom, Mateo said. Belonged to my grandmother. Tradition says the heir's wife wears it. I stared at the ring, at the visible weight of expectation. It's beautiful, I wrote, because it was true. But it's not mine. None of this is mine. Not the choice, not the ring, not the life. Mateo was quiet for a long moment. Then he closed the box with a soft click. You're right, he said. It's not yours. Not yet. He pocketed the ring. I'll give it to you on the wedding day, when you're ready to wear it, or not. Your choice. I blinked, surprised. I'm not a good man, Rose. His voice was low, almost gentle. I've done things that would make you run if you knew. I'll probably do worse before I die, but I don't lie to my wife, and I won't pretend this marriage is anything but what it is. A transaction between families. Then why the courtesy? Because you didn't choose this. The least I can do is not make it worse than it has to be. He started walking back toward the house. 2 weeks, Rose Ashford. Then you become Rose Mancini, and everything changes. I followed him, my mind racing. At the door he paused. One more thing. Learn Italian. My grandmother doesn't speak English, and she'll want to meet you. Before I could respond, he was gone, disappearing into the house with his brothers like smoke. Lily found me 10 minutes later, still standing in the garden. He's not what I expected, I signed. Good unexpected or bad unexpected, she asked. I thought about amber eyes and brutal honesty. About a ring I didn't have to wear yet. About a man who killed with his hands but gave me a choice anyway. I don't know yet, I signed. Ask me in 2 weeks. 2 weeks vanished like smoke. I spent them learning basic Italian from a tutor my father hired, a nervous woman named Mrs. Chen, who spoke 4 languages and flinched every time someone slammed a door. I practiced phrases I'd need. Piacere di conoscerla. Pleased to meet you. Grazie. Thank you. Non parlo italiano molto bene. I don't speak Italian very well. The irony wasn't lost on me. I didn't speak anything at all. Mateo sent gifts. Not flowers or chocolate like a normal fiancé. If anything about this was normal. He sent books. First, an Italian ASL dictionary that must have cost a fortune to find. Then a leather-bound journal with my initials embossed in gold. Then, strangest of all, a vintage sign language manual from 1918. Fragile pages filled with illustrations of hand positions. No notes, no explanations. Just thoughtfulness that didn't match the man who'd killed 3 people with his bare hands. Now, Standing in front of the full-length mirror in my childhood bedroom, I barely recognized myself. The wedding dress was ivory silk, not white. Simple lines, no train, off-shoulder sleeves that showed the constellation of freckles across my collarbone. Lily had chosen it knowing I'd hate anything too elaborate. My dark hair was pulled back in a low bun, a few loose strands framing my face. I looked like a bride. I felt like a sacrifice. "You're beautiful," Lily signed, tears streaming down her face despite her smile. Her baby bump was more visible now under her sage-green bridesmaid dress. "I'm terrified," I signed back. "That's allowed." She squeezed my hand. "But Rose, I've seen how he looks at you. Like you're a puzzle he wants to solve, not a problem he needs to fix. That doesn't make this less insane." "No, but maybe it makes it survivable." A knock interrupted us. My father entered without waiting for permission, as always. He wore his best suit and the expression of a man who'd just closed a profitable deal. "The cars are ready," he said. "Mateo's family is already at the church, St. Patrick's Cathedral." Because apparently crime families loved irony, I grabbed my notebook. "This is really happening. You sound surprised," my father said. "Did you think I'd change my mind? I thought maybe you'd remember you have a daughter, not just a bargaining chip." He read it. His face hardened. "Everything I do is for this family's survival. You'll understand that someday when you have children of your own." I wanted to throw the notebook at his head. Instead, I walked past him chin high and headed for the stairs. The cathedral was packed. I recognized faces from both families. Ashford associates in their expensive suits, Mancini soldiers with their watchful eyes and concealed weapons. The air smelled like lilies and old incense, cloying and heavy. At the altar stood Mateo. He wore a charcoal gray suit that fit like it was painted on, a deep burgundy tie, the exact shade of the ruby ring now waiting for me. His hair was slicked back, beard freshly trimmed. When I started down the aisle, his eyes locked on mine with an intensity that made my knees weak. My father walked beside me, his hand on my elbow like a chain. Halfway down the aisle, I noticed her, an elderly woman in the front pew, dressed in black lace, her silver hair pinned in an elaborate updo. She watched me with eyes the same amber color as Mateo's, sharp and assessing. His grandmother, the matriarch. I'd be meeting her after the ceremony. The thought made my stomach clench. We reached the altar. My father placed my hand in Mateo's without ceremony, then stepped back. Mateo's fingers were warm, calloused. He leaned close enough that only I could hear. "Breathe," he murmured. "You look like you're about to pass out." I shot him a look. He almost smiled. The priest began. I barely heard the words. Something about love and honor and devotion until death. All lies we were both expected to perform. When it came time for vows, Mateo spoke first, his voice steady and clear. "I, Mateo Salvatore Mancini, take you, Rose Elena Ashford, to be my wife. I promise to protect you, to respect you, and to never lie to you. What's mine becomes yours. My name, my resources, my loyalty." He paused. "And my enemies, for better or worse." The addition made several people shift uncomfortably. The priest looked uncertain whether to continue. Then it was my turn. The church fell silent. Everyone knew I couldn't speak the vows aloud. I'd prepared for this. I pulled out a card from my bouquet, white cardstock with my vows written in careful script. I handed it to Mateo. He read aloud, his voice becoming mine. "I, Rose Elena Ashford, take you, Mateo Salvatore Mancini, to be my husband. I promise to stand beside you, to honor our agreement, and to face whatever comes with courage." He paused, and something flickered in his eyes as he read the last line. "I may be silent, but I am not weak, and I will never be owned." A ripple went through the crowd. My father's jaw tightened, but Mateo's lips curved into something almost like pride. "I wouldn't want you any other way," he said, off script. The priest cleared his throat. "The rings?" Marco stepped forward carrying a small velvet pillow. 2 rings sat on it, the ruby heirloom for me, and a thick platinum band for Mateo. Mateo took the ruby ring. His hands were steady as he slid it onto my finger. The weight was surprising, solid and real and terrifying. I took his ring with shaking hands. The platinum was warm from being in the church's heat. I slid it onto his finger, and his hand closed around mine for just a moment. "Steadying, by the power vested in me," the priest said, sounding relieved to be almost done. "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may." Mateo kissed me before he finished. It wasn't gentle. His hand cupped my face, fingers threading into my hair as he claimed my mouth with a certainty that stole my breath. The kiss was possessive, demanding, and utterly inappropriate for a church. It was also electrifying. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark. "Mine now," he whispered against my lips. The church erupted in applause. I was too dizzy to care. The reception was held at the Plaza Hotel. The grand ballroom transformed into something out of a magazine. Crystal chandeliers, white roses everywhere. A string quartet playing Vivaldi. I sat at the head table beside Mateo, my new husband, watching our families mingle like oil and water trying to mix. His grandmother appeared like a specter, aided by a cane topped with a silver wolf's head. "Nonna," Mateo stood immediately, kissing both her cheeks. "Questa è Rose, mia moglie." The old woman's gaze raked over me. Then she spoke in rapid Italian, too fast for me to catch more than a few words. Mateo translated. "She says you're too thin and too pretty for me, and she wants to know if you're smart." I pulled out my notebook. "Tell her I'm smart enough to know this family is dangerous, and brave enough to marry into it anyway." Mateo read it aloud in Italian. His grandmother's face remained impassive. Then she laughed, a real laugh, delighted and approving. She responded in Italian, reaching out to pat my cheek with a weathered hand. "She says you'll do fine," Mateo translated, "and that I should treat you well or she'll beat me with her cane. I like her already," I wrote. His grandmother saw the words and nodded, still smiling. She said something else, softer. Mateo's expression shifted. She says, "You remind her of herself, before my grandfather tamed her wild heart." "Did he succeed?" "No," Mateo said. "She shot him in the leg once for coming home drunk. He limped for a year." There was affection in his voice. "They were married for 53 years. The old woman patted my hand once more, then moved away, her security detail following. "Well," Mateo said, sitting back down, "you've been approved by the most terrifying woman in my family. That's something. More terrifying than you?" "Infinitely." He reached for his whiskey. "I've seen her make grown men cry with just a look." The band started playing. Couples moved to the dance floor. Mateo stood, offering his hand. "We're expected to dance," he said. "First dance. Tradition." I hesitated, then took his hand. On the dance floor, his arm settled around my waist, pulling me close, too close, intimate. His other hand held mine, and we began to move. "You're tense," he murmured. I raised an eyebrow, obviously. "I won't bite. Not unless you ask nicely." I stepped on his foot, deliberately. He laughed, a low rumble in his chest. "There she is." The fire under the silence. We swayed to the music. Around us, people watched. My father, his brothers, the families. All analyzing, judging, calculating. "Ignore them," Mateo said. "For 3 minutes it's just us. Just us. A man I barely knew and me, bound by law and blood money." His hand tightened on my waist. "I meant what I said in my vows. You're under my protection now. Anyone who tries to hurt you answers to me." I looked up, meeting those amber eyes. "And who protects me from you?" He didn't look away. "That's the question, isn't it?" The song ended. Applause rippled through the ballroom. Mateo didn't let go immediately. "One more thing, Mowgli. Wife, we leave in an hour. Penthouse. Your things are already moved. My prison, gilded in Manhattan luxury." I nodded. What else could I do? He released me, but his eyes promised, "This is only the beginning." The penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a building in Tribeca. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Hudson River, the city lights reflecting off dark water like scattered diamonds. The space was modern, all clean lines and expensive minimalism. White marble, dark wood, leather furniture that probably cost more than most cars. It felt nothing like home. Mateo's driver had deposited us an hour ago. My new husband had given me a brief tour. Living room, kitchen with appliances I'd never use. His office, off-limits and less invited. Guest rooms, and finally, the master bedroom. "Your things are in the closet on the left," he'd said, loosening his tie. "Bathrooms through there. If you need anything, there's a phone by the bed. Press 1 for security, 2 for housekeeping, 3 for me." Then he disappeared into his office with Marco, leaving me alone in our bedroom, with one massive bed dominating the space. I sat on the edge of it now, still in my wedding dress, staring at the ring on my finger. The ruby caught the light, glowing like a drop of blood. Mrs. Mateo Mancini, Rose Mancini. The name felt foreign, wrong. A knock interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Rose? Marco's voice. Mateo wants to know if you're hungry. Chef prepared dinner. I opened the door. Marco stood there, more relaxed now without his suit jacket, shoulder holster visible under his vest. He noticed me noticing. You'll get used to the guns too, he said almost kindly. Come on, you should eat. It's been a long day. The dining room table could seat 12. Tonight it was set for 3. Mateo at the head, Marco to his right, and a place set for me on Mateo's left. Mateo had changed into dark jeans and a black Henley that showed the tattoos snaking down his arms. He looked younger, more dangerous without the civilized veneer of the suit. Sit, he said, pouring wine into my glass. You haven't eaten since breakfast. How did he know that? He caught my look. You pushed your food around at the reception, didn't take a single bite. He set the bottle down. I pay attention. The chef, a nervous man named Antoine, brought out the first course. Butternut squash soup with truffle oil. It smelled incredible. My stomach growled traitorously. So, Marco said, clearly trying to ease the tension. How does it feel to be a Mancini? I pulled out my notebook. Ask me in a week. Mateo read it aloud. Marco grinned. Fair enough. For what it's worth, Nonna loved you. That's rare. She hated Dante's last girlfriend. Called her una stupida ragazza for 3 months straight. Because she was, Mateo said. She tried to sell family information to the Corleones. What happened to her? I wrote. Not sure I wanted the answer. The brothers exchanged a glance. She moved to California, Marco said carefully. Very suddenly, with a new identity and a strong suggestion never to return east. Mateo's expression said that was the generous version. We're not monsters, Mateo said, his eyes on me. But we protect family, always. And your family now, Rose, whether you want to be or not. That's supposed to be comforting? It's supposed to be honest. He set down his spoon. I won't lie to you about what we are. This life, my life, it's violent, dangerous. People will try to use you to get to me, to hurt me. His jaw tightened. I need to know you understand that. I grew up in a crime family. I understand. No, Mateo said softly. The Ashfords are politicians playing at being gangsters. We're the real thing. The weight is different. Marco stood abruptly. I should go. Let you two talk. He squeezed Mateo's shoulder as he passed. Be nice to her. I'm always nice, Mateo said. Marco snorted. You killed a man with a soup spoon once. He deserved it. When Marco was gone, the silence stretched like pulled taffy. Antoine brought the main course. Osso buco that fell off the bone, risotto that looked like art. I ate because my body demanded it, not because I tasted anything. Mateo watched me, always watching. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. What? You're scared of me. I'd be stupid not to be. True. He leaned back. But I need you to understand something. Whatever I am outside this penthouse, whatever I do, whatever blood I spill, you're separate from that. Safe from that. Until I'm not. His hand hit the table. Not violently, but hard enough to rattle the plates. I won't let anyone hurt you, do you understand? I don't care who they are, what family they represent, what power they have. You're mine to protect now. The possessiveness should have angered me. Instead, something warm unfurled in my chest. Dangerous. Confusing. And what if you're the one I need protection from? Mateo stood, circling the table until he was beside my chair. He crouched down, bringing himself to eye level. This close, I could see gold flecks in his amber eyes. A small scar above his left eyebrow. The way his jaw clenched when he was thinking. Then you run, he said quietly. You take the car keys on the hook by the door, the emergency cash in the safe, code is your birthday, and you run. You go to Lily, or to that community center where you teach and you disappear. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, his fingers brushed my cheek. But I'm asking you to trust me. Just a little. Just enough to give this a chance. A chance at what? We're not a real couple. No. We're two people stuck in a situation neither of us chose, trying to make the best of it. His thumb traced my cheekbone. But maybe that's enough. For now. My heart hammered. His touch was gentle, at odds with everything I knew about him. I pulled away, standing. I'm tired. I want to sleep. Something flickered in his eyes. Disappointment? Of course. The bedroom is... I know where it is. I left him standing in the dining room, my notebook clutched like a shield. The bedroom was enormous. The bed even more so. I changed into pajamas, simple cotton shorts and a tank top, and stared at the mattress like it might bite. One bed, Two people who were legally married but emotionally strangers. I grabbed a pillow and a throw blanket from the closet, fully prepared to sleep on the couch in the sitting area. The door opened. Mateo stood there, now in just pajama pants, his chest bare. Tattoos covered his torso, a religious scene over his heart, family names in script along his ribs, symbols I didn't recognize across his abs. Scars, too. Bullet wounds, knife marks, a life written in violence on his skin. He saw the pillow in my arms. What are you doing? Sleeping on the couch. No, you're not. I'm not sleeping with you. I'm not asking you to. He took the pillow from my hands. The bed is big enough for both of us. We'll stay on our sides. I won't touch you. I don't trust you. I know. He set the pillow back on the bed. But humor me. The housekeeping staff talks. If they see you sleeping on the couch, it'll be gossip by morning. Gossip becomes rumors. Rumors become perceived weakness. And weakness gets people killed in my world. I wanted to argue, but the logic was sound even if I hated it. Fine. But if you cross the center line, I'm kneeing you where it counts. He almost smiled. Noted. We settled into bed, him on the right side, me on the left, a canyon of expensive sheets between us. He turned off the lamp, plunging the room into darkness broken only by city lights filtering through the curtains. Rose, his voice in the dark, softer, almost vulnerable. I turned my head toward his shadow. Thank you for going through with it, for not running. A pause. I know it cost you. I wanted to stay angry, to keep the walls up, but exhaustion pulled at me, and maybe, just maybe, Mateo Mancini wasn't the villain I'd expected. I reached across the space between us and squeezed his hand once. Brief, no words needed. His fingers tightened around mine for a heartbeat, then let go. Good night, Mowgli, he whispered. I closed my eyes and, impossibly, fell asleep in a stranger's bed, wearing a dead woman's ring, bound to a man who killed with his hands but held mine with surprising gentleness. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new fears, new boundaries to navigate. But tonight I was just Rose. Not Ashford, not Mancini, just Rose. Silent, surviving, and maybe, just maybe, beginning to adapt. 3 weeks into marriage, I discovered that Mateo Mancini was a morning person, a disgustingly cheerful morning person who woke at 5:30, ran 6 miles on the building's rooftop track, then returned to shower and make espresso strong enough to wake the dead. I, on the other hand, was not. You're glaring at me, he said, sliding a cup of coffee across the kitchen island. He wore a suit today, charcoal gray, burgundy tie, business meetings, which meant someone would probably end up intimidated or dead. It's barely 7. I held up my middle finger. Universal sign language. He laughed. That rare, genuine sound I'd heard maybe 4 times since the wedding. Noted. But you have that community center thing at 9. Tony's driving you. Tony was one of my security guards. A mountain of muscle with kind eyes who'd spent last week learning basic ASL signs so we could communicate. The other guard, Marcus, was teaching me how to spot a tail. My life had become surreal. I can take a cab, I signed, knowing he understood more now. He'd been learning. Secretly, I think, based on the Italian ASL dictionary that kept appearing in different rooms. No, he said simply. You can't. We've been over this. I'm not a prisoner. You're my wife. That makes you a target. He set down his espresso cup with controlled precision. 3 weeks ago, the Russo family lost a shipping contract to us. They're not happy. Last week, someone took pictures of you outside the center. Long-range lens. Professional. My blood went cold. Marcus handled it. Mateo continued, his voice casual despite the violent subtext. The photographer won't be taking pictures of anyone for a while, but it proves my point. You don't go anywhere without security. You're impossible. I'm cautious. There's a difference. He checked his watch. I have a meeting at 8. Marco's handling the Brooklyn situation. Dante's meeting with our lawyers about the port contracts. He paused. What are you doing today? Besides the center? It was the first time he'd asked about my day beyond security logistics. I pulled out my phone and typed, teaching ASL to 5 kids, then meeting Lily for lunch, then maybe not murdering my overprotective husband. Maybe. He read it. His lips twitched. I appreciate the maybe. Shows you're considering alternatives. I'm full of mercy. I've noticed. He stood, adjusting his cufflinks. Gold, engraved with the Mancini crest. There's a gala Friday night. Charity thing. We need to attend. I groaned silently. I know, but it's important. The mayor will be there. Several city council members. We need to maintain our legitimate business face. He moved closer, adjusting the collar of my robe with unexpected gentleness. Wear something nice, I'll have my tailor send options. I can dress myself. I know, but let me do this. Please. The please surprised me. Mateo Mancini didn't strike me as a man who said please often. I nodded. His hand lingered on my shoulder for a moment. Then he was gone. Marco appearing in the doorway to escort him to whatever meeting required both guns and lawyers. The Brooklyn Community Center smelled like old books and hope. I'd been teaching here every Tuesday and Thursday for 2 years. The kids ranged from 6 to 14, some deaf, some hearing but with deaf parents, all eager to learn. Today's class was about emotions, how to sign feelings when words weren't enough. Happy, I signed, smiling wide. The kids mimicked me, their small hands clumsy but earnest. Sad, my expression fell, hands moving downward. Angry, sharp, aggressive movements. A girl named Maya, 8 years old, born deaf, bright as lightning, raised her hand. What about scared? She signed. I hesitated, then signed. Scared is like this. Hands trembling, moving to my heart, eyes wide. Are you scared, Miss Rose? Maya signed, her face curious. Kids, they saw too much. Sometimes, I admitted. But being scared doesn't mean being weak. It means being smart enough to know when something's dangerous. Like the men outside? Another student, James, signed. The ones with guns? Great. The security detail was scaring children. They're there to keep everyone safe, I signed. Like lifeguards at a pool. Lifeguards with guns? James looked skeptical. Very prepared lifeguards. The kids laughed, the sound mixing with signed giggles, hands waving, faces bright. After class, I found Tony waiting by the door, his bulk somehow both threatening and reassuring. How'd it go? He asked, signing awkwardly. Good? I signed back. The kids asked about you. He grinned. What did you tell them? That you're a very prepared lifeguard. His laugh boomed through the hallway. I like that. Prepared lifeguard. Wait till I tell Marcus. Lunch with Lily was at a cafe in Soho, the kind of place that served $15 salads and called them artisanal. She was glowing, pregnancy adding a softness to her features. You look happy, I signed. I am, she said aloud, then switched to signing. David proposed, officially, with a ring and everything. David, the lawyer she'd fallen for, the reason I was married to a mobster instead of her. I'm happy for you, I signed and meant it. Are you, though? Her eyes searched mine. Happy? With him? Was I? Mateo was complicated, dangerous, sometimes surprisingly kind. He'd bought me a new ASL teaching kit last week without being asked. He made sure the kitchen was stocked with my favorite tea. He'd learned 15 signs so we could have basic conversations without my notebook. But he was also the man who'd handled a photographer, who kept guns in every room, who'd killed 3 men with his bare hands. I'm surviving, I signed. That's not the same thing. It's enough, for now. Lily reached across the table, squeezing my hand. You deserve more than survival, Rose. You deserve actual happiness. In this life, with this last name, I'll settle for not being miserable. Has he... Lily hesitated. Has he hurt you? Forced you to... No. The sign was sharp, definitive. He's been... respectful. We sleep in the same bed, but he stays on his side. Doesn't push. Doesn't demand. But I don't know how long that lasts. Eventually he'll want an heir. Eventually this arrangement becomes real in ways I'm not ready for. Lily's expression was pained. I'm so sorry. This should be me. I should have... Stop. I cut her off. You're pregnant, and happy, and safe. That's what matters. I'll figure out my own mess. We finished lunch talking about baby names and nursery colors, but the weight of my situation lingered like smoke in my lungs. I returned to the penthouse at 4. The space was quiet. Mateo still out doing whatever crime lords did during business hours. I wandered into his office, usually off limits, but the door was open. An invitation or an oversight? The room was all dark wood and leather, bookshelves lined with classics in Italian and English. A massive desk dominated the space, papers organized with military precision, and on the wall behind the desk, a painting. Not just any painting, a Caravaggio. Original, if the security system around it was any indication. Beautiful, isn't it? I spun. Mateo stood in the doorway, tie loosened, top button undone, looking exhausted. "You're home early," I signed. Meeting ended quickly. He moved to the bar cart, pouring 2 fingers of whiskey. When someone agrees with everything you say out of fear, negotiations go fast. He offered me a glass. I shook my head. The painting was my brother's. Before he died, I'd forgotten he'd had an older brother, the original heir. How did he die? I signed. Mateo's expression went dark. Ambush. Russo family. They wanted to start a war. He drank. They succeeded. For 6 months it was blood in the streets. Then I ended it. How? I killed their underboss, then their consigliere. Then I walked into their boss's home and put a gun to his daughter's head. His voice was flat, emotionless. I told him, "End this, or she dies." Then his sons, then him. Then I burned his entire bloodline to ash. I should have been horrified. Instead, I was fascinated by the monster wearing my husband's face. And he ended it. We brokered peace. His daughter still sends me Christmas cards thanking me for not pulling the trigger. A bitter smile. Gratitude from someone who knows how close they came to death. It's intoxicating. "You're a terrifying man, Mateo Mancini." "I know." He set down his glass. "But I'm your terrifying man. And everything I am, everything I do, it's to protect what's mine." His eyes locked on mine. "You're mine, Rose, legally, publicly, and increasingly in ways that have nothing to do with contracts." My heart stuttered. "What does that mean?" He crossed to me in 3 strides, backing me against the desk. Not threatening, intense. "It means I like waking up next to you. I like how you flip me off before coffee. I like that you're teaching my security guard sign language." His hand came up, cupping my jaw. "I like that you're not afraid of me, even when you should be." "I am afraid," I signed with one hand, the other trapped between us. "No," he whispered. "You're cautious, smart, but not afraid. Not anymore." He was right. Somewhere between wedding vows and morning coffee, fear had evolved into something else, something dangerous. His thumb brushed my lower lip. "Tell me to stop." I didn't. He kissed me. Not like at the wedding, possessive and performative. This was different. Questioning, seeking permission even as he took it. I kissed him back. God help me. I kissed him back. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. "This is a terrible idea," he murmured. I nodded agreement. "We should keep things professional. Separate." Another nod. "But I can't stop thinking about you, and I hate it." I pulled back enough to sign. "Good. Suffer." He laughed, surprised and genuine. "You're cruel, Mowgli. You married a silent girl expecting what? A docile wife? I expected survival. Duty." His eyes searched mine. "I didn't expect you." Neither of us moved. The moment stretched, fragile as glass. Then his phone rang. "Business. Always business," he answered, his voice shifting instantly to cold professionalism. "Talk." A pause. "When?" Another pause. "Handle it. I'll be there in 20. He hung up, the moment shattered. "I have to go. Problem at the docks." He grabbed his jacket. At the door, he paused. "Friday, the gala. We'll continue this conversation." "What conversation?" "The one about what the hell this is becoming." He was gone before I could respond. I stood alone in his office, fingers touching lips that still tingled, wondering when exactly I'd stopped just surviving and started feeling. The gala was exactly the kind of event I hated. Overpriced champagne, fake smiles, and enough political corruption to fill the Hudson River. I wore a midnight blue gown that Mateo's tailor had delivered, silk that clung to curves I didn't know I had, a slit up the thigh that felt dangerously high. Mateo's eyes when he saw me made the discomfort worth it. "You're stunning," he said, offering his arm. He wore a tuxedo like it was armor, the Mancini crest on his cufflinks catching light. "Ready to play intended?" "I've been intending since the wedding," I signed. "Touché." His hand covered mine on his arm. "Stay close. The Russos will be here. We have a trick, but it's fragile." The plaza ballroom glittered with Manhattan's elite. Eye faces recognized from newspapers, politicians, CEOs, old money families who'd made their fortunes in ways they'd never admit. Mateo navigated the crowd like a shark through water, smooth and predatory. "Mancini," a booming voice. The mayor, red-faced and jovial, approached with his wife. "And this must be the bride, congratulations." Mateo's hand tightened on my waist. Possessive, protective. "Rose, this is Mayor Richardson." "Mayor, my wife Rose." I smiled, nodded. The mayor's wife, a brittle woman drowning in diamonds, looked me up and down. "I heard you don't speak," she said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "How unique." The pity in her voice made my jaw clench. "My wife communicates just fine," Mateo said, his voice dropping 10 degrees. "She's fluent in 3 languages, teaches ASL to underprivileged children, and has more grace in her silence than most people have in a lifetime of words." The mayor's wife flushed. Mateo had just politely told her to go to hell and everyone knew it. "Well," the mayor cleared his throat, "shall we discuss the port contracts?" They moved away. Mateo's hand stayed on my waist. "You didn't have to do that," I signed. "Yes, I did." His eyes were fierce. "No one disrespects you. Not in front of me. Not ever." Something in my chest cracked open. "Mateo." A new voice, cold, familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. We turned. A man in his 50s, silver hair, dead eyes, stood flanked by 2 younger men. The family resemblance was clear. "Russian," Mateo said evenly. "Didn't expect to see you here. It's a charity event. Even criminals have hearts." Carlo Russo smiled without warmth. "This must be your bride. The silent one." His eyes raked over me. "Pretty. Shame about the defect." Mateo moved so fast I almost didn't see it. One moment he was beside me. The next he had Russo by the throat, slamming him against a marble column. Security started forward, but Russo's hand stopped them. "Call her defective again," Mateo whispered, loud enough for me to hear. "See what happens." Russo's face reddened, but he smiled. Sensitive about the wife. Interesting. His eyes found mine. "She must be special." Mateo released him, straightening his tuxedo jacket with deliberate calm. "She is. Which is why if you look at her wrong, breathe near her, or even think her name, I'll finish what I started 2 years ago. The truce is conditional on respect. You just violated it." Mateo's hand found mine, threading our fingers together. "Consider this your only warning." He led me away, his jaw tight with barely controlled rage. We found a balcony, empty, overlooking the park, cold November air biting through silk. "You're shaking," I signed. I wanted to kill him. Right there, in front of everyone. His hands gripped the railing. "For calling you defective, for looking at you like..." He stopped, breathing hard. I stepped in front of him, forcing his eyes to mine. "I'm not breakable," I signed slowly. "I've survived worse than Carlo Russo's opinion." "I know, but you shouldn't have to." He cupped my face. "You shouldn't have to survive. You should be protected, cherished, safe. By you? Yes, by me." His thumb traced my cheekbone. "I know this started as business, a contract, but rose somewhere between morning coffee and watching you teach those kids. It became real. You became real." My heart was hammered. "Mateo, I'm falling for you," he said simply. "My silent, fierce, impossible wife. And it terrifies me because everyone I love ends up in danger." "Then don't love me," I signed, even as tears pricked my eyes. Too late. He kissed me, not gentle, desperate, like he was trying to memorize the taste of my lips before something took me away. I kissed him back, pouring everything I couldn't say into it. Fear, want, the beginning of something that felt dangerously like love. A gunshot shattered the moment. Inside the ballroom, screams erupted. Mateo shoved me behind him, gun appearing from somewhere I hadn't known he was carrying. "Stay down," he ordered. His voice transformed into something cold and lethal, but I could see through the glass doors. Russo's men, 5 of them, guns drawn, not shooting randomly, looking, searching, for me. "They're after you," Mateo realized, his face going white. He waited until we were separated from my security. I grabbed his face, forcing him to look at me, then signed, "Together. We handle this together. You're not trained. I'm not helpless, and I'm not losing you tonight." Something changed in his expression. Pride, fear, love. "Okay," he said, "but you follow my lead." We moved as one. Mateo kicked open the door, firing twice. 2 men dropped. Professional, efficient, terrifying. The remaining 3 scattered. Guests dove under tables. The mayor's security was exchanging fire with Russo's men in a scene that would make headlines for weeks. I saw him, Russian, moving through the chaos toward a side exit. I grabbed Mateo's arm, pointing. "Go," he said to Marco, who'd appeared with Dante and 6 Mancini soldiers. "Get him. Alive if possible. Dead if necessary." Dante grinned. "Dead it is." They vanished into the crowd. Mateo pulled me close, checking for injuries. "You okay? Did they touch you?" I shook my head, but my hands were shaking. Hey! He tilted my chin up. You're safe. I've got you. Police sirens wailed outside. This was about to become very complicated. We need to go, Marco said, reappearing. Now, before NYPD locks down the building. Russian? Dante's handling it. But boss, we need to move. The ride home was silent except for phone calls. Lawyers, fixers, people who specialize in making problems disappear. Mateo held my hand the entire time, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. At the penthouse, he sat me on the couch, poured whiskey, and finally let himself fall apart. I almost lost you. His hands shook as he drank. He was there for you, to take you, to hurt me. But he didn't, I signed. This time, he set down the glass. Rose, this is my life. Guns, violence, people trying to kill me through the people I love. I can't keep you safe if... I pressed my fingers to his lips, then signed. I'm not leaving. I'm not running. I chose this. You didn't choose. I chose you. I signed, clearly and deliberately. Maybe not at first, but now, I choose you. Your danger, your violence, your terrible morning habits and your overprotective security teams. All of it. Why? The question was blunt. Because you see me. Not the girl who can't speak. Not the bargaining chip. Not the broken thing. You see Rose. And you love her anyway. I do, he whispered. God help me, I do. Then trust me to be strong enough for this. For you. For us. He pulled me into his arms, holding on like I might disappear. Us. I liked the sound of that. Me too. 6 months later, the nursery walls were painted soft yellow, neutral and warm. Lily's baby, a girl named Hope, slept in my arms while her mother dealt with a diaper emergency in the bathroom. You're a natural, Mateo said from the doorway, watching us with an expression I'd learned to read. Soft. Wanting. Don't even think about it, I signed one-handed. What? I'm not thinking anything. You're thinking about babies. Our babies. I can see it on your face. He grinned, unrepentant. Can you blame me? You're holding my niece like she's the most precious thing in the world. It's giving me ideas. Ideas that end with me pregnant and miserable? Hard pass. Not yet, he agreed, moving closer. But someday, when you're ready, if you're ready. I looked down at Hope's tiny face. Someday. Maybe. Ask me again in a year, I signed. Deal. He kissed my forehead. How'd the interview go? The New York Times wanted to do a profile. The Silent Voice. Rose Mancini's ASL Revolution. My community center had expanded to 3 locations. We were training teachers. Changing lives. They want to photograph us. Together. The crime lord and his voiceless wife. How very dramatic of them. His came arms around us both. What did you say? I said yes. On one condition. What's that? No pity, no inspiration narrative. Just the truth, that I'm not defined by what I can't do, but by what I choose to do. That's my girl. Pride colored his voice. The woman who brought the Mancini family to its knees without saying a word. I said plenty. You just had to learn to listen. Best thing I ever learned. Lily emerged, disaster averted. Thanks for babysitting. David and I needed the break. Anytime, I signed. As we left, Mateo's hand found mine. The ruby ring caught sunlight. Familiar now. Comfortable. Mine. Home? He asked. I nodded. Home. With my impossible husband, his dangerous family, and a love story that started with silence but spoke volumes. Some marriages are built on words. Ours was built on trust earned in gunfire, mornings spent learning each other's languages, and the revolutionary act of being seen. I was Rose Mancini. Silent. Strong. Loved. And I wouldn't change a single thing.